Good day, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Armando Ridiel. I am the Technical Development Supervisor for Lighting Design Lab, an education and resource hub for Seattle City Light. Today, at our first delivery of the year, we have a 2023 Energy Efficiency Program Update Roundup from our amazing program managers at our Customer Energy Solutions Division. So let's get started. If you are familiar with our webinars, you'll know that you are all on mute. However, on the bottom right-hand side of that GoToWebinar panel, you'll see a chat feature. Please chime in with any questions, comments. We will even prompt you and encourage you to engage with us via chat as you go along with this webinar with us. It is being recorded and will be available on our website, on our YouTube channel, a few days after this webinar. Also, there's a 1-minute survey after the event, so please complete it when we're done. Wanted to call attention to a couple of events happening in the near future, a good amount of them in person, starting with the Powerful Facilities Conference in the Linwood Convention Center, March 16th. Our Customer Energy Solutions team has a couple of trainings that are going to be in person. One you'll see there at the end of March for our residential heat pump trainings by NCI, the National Comfort Institute, and also a training at the end of April, at the very end, for pump system fundamentals at the Pacific Tower, hosted by the Smart Building Center, April 26th. We're also going to have a integrated home competition shout out. It is an event in a competition from the Consortium of Energy Efficiency happening on March 14th. So the winners of their competition are going to showcase their products on our platform. And lastly, Seattle City Light is the sponsor for the National Home Performance Conference happening on April 17th. All right, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Julie, one of our amazing program managers at our Customer Energy Solutions Division.
Thank you, Armando, and welcome everybody. We appreciate you joining today. My name is Julie Banerjee, and I'm one of the program managers on the Customer Energy Solutions team at Seattle City Light. So today we are going to go through updates to our energy efficiency programs and go over some of the offerings that we have for 2023. We'll highlight how those programs have been utilized with specific case studies around network lighting controls and our industrial energy efficiency program. And finally, we're going to talk through the ways we're currently and in the future going to support trade allies, as well as get your feedback on that programming. Next slide. As I said, I'm Julie Banerjee, and I'm joined with 3 colleagues today, Graham Goodman, Lisa Frasene, and Lynn Kannapell, who will each be speaking to their specific area and programs. Next slide. So program updates. We're going to start with new construction. New construction offerings are the same in 2023 as they were in 2022. We have various offerings either from a measure base or whole building basis for multifamily and commercial projects. You can go online on this link that you'll see after our presentation to look at the technologies that are available and associated funding amounts. An exciting next step in this program design is the fact that we are developing an energy design assistance program for commercial, industrial, and multifamily new construction projects. This is really going to focus on a whole building modeled base approach that engages designers and builders at an early point in the development of a building. The intent in doing this is not only to provide financial support how we have done historically, but to lower that administrative burden and increase accessibility to our programming for customers, as well as share expertise on how to have more energy efficient buildings in new construction. If you work in the territories of Snohomish PUD or Puget Sound Energy, you may be familiar with this approach where folks are engaged earlier, do that analysis, and then we verify that the building has been built. Ideally, we will be rolling this out at the end of this year. And now I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Graham.
Thank you, Julie. Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to take this opportunity as a new program manager at Seattle City Light, started here in July, to get to know some of you a little better and kind of speak about the programs that I've been managing since I started here. So one of these programs is our industrial energy management that I'm going to talk to you about today. And that program typically covers our behavior and operations-based type measures. So, things like schedules and set points and things like that. But a new measure that we unrolled out at the end of 2022 and into the beginning of this year is our energy project manager. And so, a little bit about what that is. So, the energy project manager essentially is a site energy champion that will be implementing energy measures and energy savings projects for their organization. And so this is only offered right now to our industrial customers. And the reason why we want to offer this is because we do believe that EPMs can achieve more effective and resourceful implementation of energy efficiency projects. This measure offers deeper technical capabilities. Staff committed to energy efficiency can build broader organizational awareness of a facility's energy systems and consumption and the capital project opportunities that might emerge. So what we offer with this is a roadmap for long-term success, and that's through the EPM comprehensive site plan. So I'll go through here and kind of talk about what that process actually entails. So really the EPM is a 2.5 cent per kilowatt hour bonus that we would pay out on top of any other custom retrofit projects that you or your customers might be working on. So that's lighting, HVAC, refrigeration, chillers, anything they might be doing. And so we will pay a 2.5 cent bonus on top of that with a $150,000 cap over a 2-year period. And so what will qualify for that is if you or your customer has a comprehensive plan that consists of a suite of projects that exceed 200,000 kilowatt hour in savings. And so one of those must include a non-lighting project. So you can split that up any way you want. If you have a lighting project that says 1 million kilowatt hours and then a Windows replacement, that will be much less, or that would all qualify for the bonus on top of whatever other incentive would already be paid out. And so the process for that, what that looks like is the site will designate an EPM champion with our support and the support of ESI, Energy Smart Industrial. We can help you develop a comprehensive plan to put together those projects, and that can be an iterative plan. So if you have new projects that emerge, you can add those into the scope. You'll submit that enrollment application and it'll be reviewed by us and BPA, and you'll be enrolled in the program, and then iteratively as your projects come to conclusion, we'll add a 2.5 cent bonus on top of whatever incentive was already going to happen. So really exciting measure. I think we have a good direction to go with it and hope to get more folks enrolled in that. And I would pause here for any questions as I'm about to head into a new topic.
Very nice, Graham. I don't see any questions coming in, just someone saying they're having interest in a lot of this, so we can keep going forward.
Excellent. All right. Well, without further ado, I will move into a completely different program that is more targeted for our commercial customers. Excellent. Thank you. So another program that I'm managing is our existing building commissioning, and we don't really have any significant changes this year, but I am biased, and I think that it's a wonderful offering. It is a really significant incentive, and I just wanted to use this opportunity to kind of increase awareness in our market and try to better support you through this process. So before we get started in what this is, I just want to clearly address the fact that there are often a lot of terms that are interchangeably thrown around when it comes to commissioning. So some of them are used interchangeably, and they might be synonymous with each other. There's little nuance and difference between them. And I just wanted to quickly kind of touch on that. So you have commissioning, which would be kind of the process of going through a new building as it comes to the completion of construction and doing a quality control process on your equipment to make sure it's all functioning as intended through construction, occupancy, and operations. So that would be commissioning. And then we have retro commissioning, which is often used to describe a process that may seek to improve how existing building equipment and systems function together. So retro commissioning is typically something that's performed to a building that was commissioned but several years after occupancy. And then we have recommissioning, which is a process similar to retro commissioning, but for buildings that have likely already been commissioned. And so again, this is a process that goes through, tests equipment, identifies faults and deficiencies in existing building equipment and operations. And so for the sake of our program, retro commissioning and recommissioning might be used interchangeably. They would both be eligible for our program, and I'll expand on that here in a little bit. And so in our program, we have two pathways that customers can follow. And so that path A is kind of your traditional retro commissioning or recommissioning, which really offers an in-depth one-time process that's going to create an optimal system performance. So you'll go in through your building, investigate, analyze, try to identify deficiencies that are low and no cost, typically 2 years or less payback is what we would recommend you moving forward with. And there's a lot of reasons that customers can participate in that. Could be occupant comfort, could be efficiency, could be savings. There's a lot of good reasons to go through and do this process. And so pathway B, while it's similar in that it helps you identify faults, it's what we refer to as monitoring based commissioning. And so what this does is it's going to leverage your existing building automation system or help you implement a new one. So you're leveraging your energy management information system through fault detection diagnostics, and this will help you continuously commission your building through your control functions. And so by using those fault detection diagnostics, you can better identify opportunities to move or for more efficient operations. And I just want to quickly note that going through pathway B can help customers comply with the Seattle Building Tune-Up Ordinance, but it is not an apples to apples approach. And so if you have more questions about that, please reach out. It depends on your building size, how long you've been trending data within the building, as to whether or not that would qualify and help you overcome that compliance pathway. So through both of these offerings, our typical measure types are shown over there on the right side. So it's a lot of mechanical fixes, modifications of sequence and operations, schedule modifications, things like that. So those are the measures that we typically see that go through the program. Next slide, please.
Graham, I do have one question on this one.
Sure.
Is there someone similar, like the energy program manager, that implementers can work with the utility when they're doing the commissioning processes?
I want to make sure I understand that question, and I'll give you my best answer. So we do have engineering resources. So Lisa Frasene, who's presenting a case study through this program right after I finish the next slide, we would task someone in her division, program delivery or project delivery, to support this work. And so that would include, utility analysis, looking at your meters, and helping guide you and hold your hand through the process, and determining what measures may or may not be a good recommendation. We also, one of the requirements of the program is that you work with a third party. So there are many qualified, well qualified implementers out there, service providers that can help you retro commission your building. So it would be you, your service provider, and a staff member from City Light. And so if I misspoke or misrepresented of any of that at all, Lisa, please correct me. But I hope that answered the question. Did that touch on the aspects, Armando?
Yeah, that hit the nail on the head. Thank you, Graham.
Excellent.
Move on to the next slide here.
Yeah, so this is just kind of a quick breakdown, really high level of what really kind of incentive is on the table and what the timeline might look like. So I will also point out that our process is very similar to Puget Sound Energy. So if you are a City Light Electric customer but a PSE gas customer and you want to go through this, you can get savings on both sides. And so that will help you maximize your incentive dollars to pay for all this. So what we offer real quickly, our process starts with an application and an assessment. And typically that'll take about 2 to 6 months for us to review. And that's essentially determining whether or not your building will be a good fit for our program and if you can achieve 7% energy savings, which is what we're striving to accomplish here, 7% or greater. We will pay up to $4,000, which may include 100% of those assessment costs. So that's typically something that you would also be working with your third party on, as well as us. If we determine that your building will be a good fit, we'd move you from assessment into implementation. And so this is really where the incentive starts to make a lot of sense. And so we'll pay up to 75% of your commissioning provider costs at 25 cents per square foot. And so if that's through pathway A, that's for your service provider and commissioning. If it's for pathway B, that can help you with your controls and your building automation system and trending with that energy management system. So through that process, that'll take half a year to sometimes more than a year. And so that's going to include the deep investigation, implementing the measures that or the deficiencies that you found, and then training staff to make sure that those savings can persist. And so after that is when your incentive pays out. And so we'll measure your savings after you've implemented and completed making those adjustments, and the incentive for that is 5 cents a kilowatt hour. And so you'll notice that that's not as the point that I want to make here is that your savings on your energy costs are likely to be greater than the incentive as well. But when you add that all up, it's a really nice package. And if you're including gas in that with PSE, it's even sweeter for you. And so that we'll measure those improvements over the course of 12 months. And so without any further ado, I'd like to hand it off to Lisa Frasene, who has a nice case study for us to review.
Thanks, Graham. Next slide. So I kind of wanted to just illustrate, put some numbers behind what Graham was talking about. So there was a hotel in Seattle that participated in the program. It was actually a few years ago. So it was about a little over 90,000 square feet of conditioned space. The hotel's annual consumption was about 1.15 million. At the end of the project, through analysis of the performance phase, we saw that they saved 172,000 kWh, which was about 15% savings. So I'm just going to walk through each step here just so you get an idea of the incentive. So Graham talked about the assessment phase, and we call that phase one. So phase one out of 3 phases. And after a customer submits an application, which Seattle City Light does a thorough review of and says, yeah, actually, you're a great candidate for this program, the customer works with a service provider. And the service provider, at the end of the day, one of the deliverables is to provide an assessment report on the building. So City Light will pay up to $4,000 per building, regardless of what that assessment report says. So you'll notice here, I put the cost of the service provider's cost at $5,000. City Light reviewed that assessment report and said, you're a great candidate for phase 2, our commissioning phase. And like Graham mentioned, phase 2, we cover up to 75% of the provider's cost for the commissioning phase. And you'll see some numbers up there. So we ended up paying $20,000 for the cost of the commissioning phase. And you'll see the actual square footage times 25 cents. That 22,000, sorry, the screen's a little small for me, 646 was, if we were just multiplying the square footage by 25 cents, that would be what the customer would receive. But we're capping the cost for the commissioning, we're capping the commissioning provider's cost. So they ended up getting $20,000. And you'll see I included the owner's cost at the bottom. That will come into play later. So the total cost for the commissioning phase is about $34,000. After all the commissioning measures have been implemented, the building is operational, we're going to look at a year of performance data because we're in the performance phase, or phase 3, we give 5 cents per kWh saved if your building sees at least 7% savings, and our cap on that incentive is 15% savings. So if you're in the range of 7 to 15% savings, we're going to give you 5 cents per kWh. There's could be some owner's cost during the performance phase, but really there's no cost for this phase right now. This is just like a year of analysis. So if you look at the summary box, you'll see that the building achieved 15% savings. The total incentive was $33,000. The project cost was just under 40. So our incentives paid for about 84% of the project cost. Below the boxes, you'll see some of the measures that this hotel did. And since the customer, and Graham touched on this, since the customer chose Path A, our traditional retro commissioning, they're required to do all measures with up to a 2-year payback. So without detailing, the items that I have listed on the screen, their measure is focused on optimizing their energy to reduce their operating cost. And Path A focuses on training of the staff and documentation too, to improve installed building systems, the documentation, and the operations. So changes were made to sequences. The building might be operating slightly differently. There's usually a manual that building staff can go to so they can check what their set point should be at. And then the service provider typically trains, there's a training component. The service provider trains the operations staff on how to run the building optimally. So this was a successful case study for City Light. And I will see if there are any questions.
None that I see. Thank you very much, Lisa. That was a pretty solid case study.
Okay, thanks, Armando. The next presenter, is Len Kannapell, and he's going to talk about our lighting program.
All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Len Kannapell. I'm an energy management analyst for Seattle City Light. And if you have a commercial retrofit lighting project, we have discounts and incentives. So the good news is no news. There has been no changes in either our lighting to go or commercial retrofit lighting programs into 2023. We did make some small changes mid-year 2022. So let's go through this for those of you who are not familiar with these programs. So Lighting to Go is our midstream program. What does that mean? That means you can go to any of the participating distributors that we have in our program and simply buy lamps, an unlimited quantity of those, and fixtures, a limit of 30, through these distributors, and get an instant discount on those products that you buy. They have to be, lamps and fixtures must be DLC listed, and you cannot get a Lighting to Go discount as well as a commercial retrofit lighting discount. That would be called double dipping. But we have a good setup here, and this works very well to move relatively small projects over into this midstream type program, and it's very fast and light and very efficient. If you have a bigger project now, that's where you want to be thinking about commercial retrofit lighting. We have a small screenshot there lower right that shows just a little teaser of some of the incentives that we have. But again, this is based on kilowatt hour savings. So we figure out what your current kilowatt hour consumption is. After you do the upgrade, what the new consumption is going to be, and the delta between the two, that's your energy savings, and that's what we base that dollar per kilowatt savings based on. So that incentive that you get cannot exceed 70% of the project cost, and there is a $1,000 minimum incentive for the project. Next slide, please. Let's do a little deeper dive into those commercial retrofit lighting incentives. So the 3 different categories that we have, new or retrofit fixtures, we pay 15 cents per kilowatt hour saved. So that's any of the things that you typically see, interior, exterior lights, high bay, troffers, display cases, integrated retrofit kits, downlights, anything like that. That's all 15 cents per kilowatt hour saved. There's also 10 cents per kilowatt hour saved for the component, which are the typically non-integrated as defined by the DLC retrofit kits. So if you have a lighting situation where you want to just add controls, so you had new fixtures installed, but there's no controls for them, we also have controls upgrades. So typically what a lot of customers do is a lighting fixture upgrade as well as, and add controls as well, but you can do this separately if you need to. So again, that's 15 cents per kilowatt hour savings for adding occupancy or daylight controls. So if you put the two together, the retrofit fixtures or new fixtures, standard lighting controls together, now that you could roll it into a network lighting control system. Now, this is what we're really trying to push these days because this gives you the best overall energy savings. And studies have shown up to 88% energy savings by migrating to a network lighting control system. And the incentives are hard to beat. That's $75 per fixture bonus plus 30 cents per kilowatt hour saved for the fixtures and control savings combined. So that is kind of the carrot to get folks to consider doing that. We've done increasing number of these network lighting control projects over the last few years, and we hope to do even more. And in the chat, I'm going to put in the link to the Lighting to Go program incentives or discounts, as well as our commercial retrofit lighting incentive sheet. And that way you can bookmark those as need be at some point. So this is a perfect dovetail into a simple case study of network lighting controls. So next slide, please. And what you're looking at right there is the beautiful architecture of the 1971 constructed Associated General Contractors Building, or AGC. Many of you know this building. It's out there in the South Lake Union area. 11 floors, a little over 100,000 net square feet. And it's even got its own Starbucks at the base of the building there, as you can see with the Starbucks logo encircled on the right. So you could not ask for a better textbook network lighting control project. Look at the picture you see. That has a whole lot of daylight to harvest, and there are dozens of tenants scattered throughout those 11 floors, everything from financial managers to massage therapy to counseling offices. So quite a few different tenants. But again, built in 1971, this building is really dominated by aging old 2-lamp T8 troffers. Urban Energy Group was the contractor for this project. They approached Greg Manosk, who was the building engineer, back in 2019 about this project, and they consulted and figured out, let's look at doing a network lighting control system. And Urban Energy Group selected the LG Sensor Connect with LG fixtures as well. And I think this really worked well. And you'll see on this next slide, if you can advance to the next slide, please, it'll just give you a good sense of what this project was about. So again, what they had through those 11 floors, a whole lot of 2-lamp T8 fixtures, typically 1x4s, 2,761 total fixtures, but really almost no controls throughout the entire building. Then in the as-built, installing a lot of these 1x4 LG fixtures with that network lighting control system called LG Sensor Connect, they went down to 1,565 fixtures. That's a 43% reduction with better lighting. And now each of those tenants can set up their own zones and schedule as need be with a whole lot of kilowatt hour savings per year. And there are a number of great benefits, but one thing that Greg Manosk, the building engineer, came back to say was, look, my maintenance staff is no longer spending tons of time simply swapping out T8s or replacing ballasts that are no longer working. So a key thing, if you look at the picture upper right, that's David Summers from Urban Energy Group in the 3rd floor conference room. So you can see 4 fixtures right there. And this is the post install. There's 2 more that you can't quite see, but there were 6 total in this conference room after the install, and a lot of great lighting. What it had previously was 18. So they went from those 2-lamp T8 fixtures to much better lighting with fixtures that went down to even less than half the wattage. because the 31 watt fixtures were high trimmed down to 25 watts, and then they could be even in unoccupied mode, even lower wattage than that. So it really was a great project, mostly done in the 2020 time period. But really, this is a textbook place to do network lighting controls. This is what we believe is the future of lighting. So that's pretty much the case study. If there's any questions, please fire away.
Do have one question, and almost expected it, and I'll add a small editorial spin from me, Len, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Some people in our audience have been hearing this term in the region, luminaire level lighting controls. So two-parter. One, are they included in the program? And question and part number two, is it this case study and other programs looking to meet code or the LLC code compliance?
So good questions, Armando. To the first question, network lighting controls has two flavors. One are fixture mounted controls. That's luminaire level light control, LLC. So again, where the daylight and the occupancy sensors are fixture mounted on that particular fixture, that's what you have for LLC. You also have, as the other flavor of that, that's going to be the non-LLC. That's going to be typically ceiling mounted control systems. So you already have fixtures that are installed. Now you have to find some way to control that. And typically that's a ceiling controlled unit to be able to do that. That incentive for LLC, that's the $75 per fixture bonus plus those fixture and control savings. For the ceiling mounted ones, that's $50 per controlled fixture plus the control savings you get out of that. And to the second question, most of the Seattle Energy Code for new construction pretty much requires a network lighting control system equivalence to be able to do that. So you meet most of code by installing those NLC type products from the very beginning.
Very nice. And we do have one more follow-up, Len. Has City Light looked at the energy usage at the project after the AGC install to verify how close the predicted savings were compared to the actual?
That is a great question. I have not gone through the granular parts of that in 2021 and 2022, which are the first 2 years post-install, to find out how closely the actual is to the predicted energy savings.
But I'm sure for interested parties, they can engage with us or email in, and we can find that out if there are any interest in that.
Exactly. And again, I'm going to put links to the Lighting to Go and our current incentives in the chat. And I am going to now turn the reins over to back to Julie Banerjee.
Great. Thank you all. So we've had some really awesome applied programming, and we're going to take it back a little bit to something that might feel a little further away or more theoretical, which is the Clean Buildings for Washington, which is a law that's being implemented by the Washington State Department of Commerce for specific sized buildings. It's looking at what we'll call today large buildings, which are over 50,000 square feet. And then there's also smaller commercial building section, which is 20,000 to 50,000 square feet, which includes multifamily and commercial. And so if you're thinking, yes, I do either own or manage one of these buildings, what does this mean for me? This law is really focused on improving energy efficiency to meet a minimum average energy use intensity target, or EUIT, for the space used in the building. While the dates you can see listed here are the dates of compliance of getting to that average EUI target, we are here to support you in how you're going to comply and start planning now. This is because not 2026 and these dates seem a ways off, but actually the law requires this to be operationalized 1 year prior to the deadline of compliance. And there are options if you're not in compliance for mitigation, and there's a penalty structure. So not only do you need to have this plan in place, we're here to provide some support in reaching both the energy performance targets and how you're going to achieve that in your buildings. For that tier 1, so over 50,000 square feet, we estimate that about 1,000 buildings in Seattle city limits alone will need to comply, and at least a third of those will need energy efficiency improvements. So we're working to reach out to folks that will have to comply to let them know about this, as well as to offer our programmatic services. If you can go to the next slide. And that's through the Clean Buildings Accelerator, which is a program that is free to participate in and is really focused on helping participants develop that plan to comply with the state standards, to figure out how to determine that EUI and EUI target in the buildings that have to comply. We'll also have information and help you access financial incentives from both the state, City Light, and others. And then really explore other financing options like the King County CPACER. For buildings that are located in Seattle itself, there will be additional information on how to meet Seattle Energy Code and the proposed Seattle emissions-based performance standards. This is currently under development, but is really in parallel, looking not only at energy use, but at buildings' emissions as well. And City Light is specifically trying to focus on supporting buildings that are in our franchise cities, while the City of Seattle's Office of Sustainability and Environment is going to also support buildings within Seattle themselves, starting with folks that are managing buildings or owning buildings from BIPOC or frontline communities. And this can include many types of buildings, nonprofits, small businesses, healthcare, museums. And so we're trying to increase access for these two main groups at the moment, but this is, a program that we hope to expand and has a ton of resources, even if you don't participate in the sprint process itself, which we're going to talk about next slide. The program takes place over 4 months and has a couple of key components, including 4 workshops, coaching calls, and virtual energy scans. And the time commitment is pretty minimal, 2 to 4 hours a month, and it will help you do those energy scans and get in the system where you are going to need to track and report your energy use intensity and your targets, both on one-on-one coaching and as a group with other people that have to be in compliance to learn about that. And we're currently on our 2nd cohort, and they're about to start this energy boot camp phase where they're really looking at their buildings, their portfolio, what's going to be needed in order to comply, and then provide the support in the coming months on how to do that. It's a really helpful way to get all the people at your organization on the same page about what the requirements are and how you're going to get there. And also to find financial incentives to help do that work. Any questions so far, Armando?
Not on this, but it does sound like an amazing program to be a part of.
Awesome. Well, on the next slide, you'll see some of those benefits that I listed, as well as contact information. This is being implemented through Stillwater Energy, as well as Seattle City Light. Our Senior Energy Management Analyst, Jerry Wright. You can reach out if you have any interest in learning more information or being a part of those in the future. Great, and we are going to talk about supporting trade allies and how we're looking to do that at City Light over the next couple of slides. And so for folks who we've had a lot of content come at you, we're going to ask for a little more engagement. So grab your coffee and have a little energizing moment, hopefully after I finish talking at you. So if you can go 2 slides forward, Armando, that'd be great. We have undertaken various engagement efforts over the last year, over 2022, to really understand how we support or are not supporting our trade allies, our champions of our programs, our folks that are out there doing all of this work. And we've heard from you all. We did a formal survey through the Smart Building Center, where we received a lot of fantastic feedback, as well as more one-on-one feedback, that we have some areas where we can increase our support, specifically increasing accessibility to information on programs, on incentives, having calls and presentations or newsletters like this, as well as materials that are easily accessible, but also easy for distribution to potential clients on energy efficiency and equipment offerings. We've also heard that having a qualified or a published contractor list would be really beneficial for folks trying to promote specific energy efficiency equipment and for residential customers, as well as increased communication or availability on training, program opportunities, etc., that are really focused on specific areas, either that people want to build their own knowledge or learn so that they can engage others moving forward. Next slide. What we're working towards at City Light this year is developing a dedicated trade ally program that will focus on providing these services and information. We'll specifically be developing those materials on benefits of the program, of how we can engage and promote conservation and incentives. We'll specifically be focusing on engaging and providing these materials for energy efficiency and for electrification, while we down the line hope to scale this to provide additional information and more joint efforts on electric vehicles and demand response technology. There will also be an opportunity to be a part of our published contractor list, which we will be developing, and hopefully clear and easier to access or self-serve information on our programs, as we mentioned, both for support in your conversations with customers and on our programming. To that end, we have a couple questions for you all on what this could look like, and we want to get your feedback. Armando, are there any questions before we move on?
Yes, if you don't mind the interruption, we have a couple of questions to iron out. A couple of people are still asking about the NLC case study and the NLC incentive. Len, may I ask you to come back on the screen if you're still with us?
I am still here.
Oh, very nice. I have one comment and two questions.
Okay.
The one comment is someone, I'm assuming, that was familiar with the project saying, hey, they had a huge cooling load. I'm assuming that that gave a lot of savings. That's nice. But more so, two questions. One about the incentives themselves. Someone asked, did I read this correctly? It's $75 a fixture for those network lighting controls, LLC controls, as well as 30 cents for controls and fixtures. Is that correct? That all adds up?
Yeah, let's address those questions in order here. So about the cooling load, we actually have interactive effects in our workbook as well as in our CRM that actually does the calculations. So there are indeed HVAC savings because you don't have these big heat producing T8s anymore. You have much lights that are lower wattage, thus fewer BTUs output, and the cooling load is quite a bit less. So yes, that's a good point that you also get that benefit of more HVAC savings, less heat you have to remove. Regarding the bonus, yes. So just to confirm that, that is indeed for each of those LLC fixtures, luminaire level light control fixtures installed, each one of those fixtures gets a $75 per fixture bonus, in addition to 15 cents per kilowatt hour savings for the fixture savings going from the T8 to the LG sensor or LG fixture. Then you also get 15 cents for the control savings by having the onboard occupancy and daylight sensors on the fixtures themselves. So yes, that is indeed $75 per fixture bonus, plus that combined fixture and control savings of 30 cents per kilowatt hour. Did that answer the question on that?
Yes, and it leads off to the last one we have here on this,
Okay.
which is, hey, if about 475,000 kilowatt hours were saved, was the approximate incentive amount, was that amount times the 0.30 cents and then plus $75 per or $50 per fixture installed?
So that question is a good one. There's a number of metrics you have to put in. It's overall the energy savings in kilowatt hours with that $75 per fixture bonus to come up with that. Most of that stuff it's not that it's proprietary. It's just that every situation is a little bit different on what that total incentive is. If you have a project like that you want to look at, definitely contact me or the energy advisors. We can help get that program going to figure out what your energy savings or what your incentive might be.
Awesome. No, thank you very much. And hey, if you're seeing a common theme today, is engage with us. We want to work more with you and get these projects in. No, thank you very much, Len. And sorry to deviate, Julie. You know I do have a soft spot for lighting and wanted to drive those questions in. And last one here before we move on, I'm assuming an answer is no here. Someone asked, is the EV charger program launching today? Not sure if you would know about that one.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. Matthew, we can I can follow up offline with the team. All right, Julie, sorry for that, and we can carry on.
No, that's great. Appreciate you all engaging. So I think we've gone through our information download, and then we were going to ask a couple of questions if you have that teed up, Armando.
I do. Do I go to a next slide or just bring out the polls?
Just bring out the polls.
All right, everybody. We want to hear more from you, and again, that's going to be a running theme. We're encouraging you to engage with us in order to be of better service to the mutual projects that we want to implement. And for that end, we wanted to ask, how can we be of better service to trade allies? So a couple of questions that we wanted to ask. I'm going to launch a first poll here. There's going to be a total of 3 that we have. The first one notes, oh, somehow I don't see it. Bear with me. What barriers discourage customers from implementing efficiency, renewable, or electrification projects? So if you can please start your voting, and you can vote all of the options that you think apply. But what really are barriers to these projects? Is it the upfront cost? Is it the mistrust for equipment that's available in these emerging technologies? Is it high operations, maintenance, or emergency replacement costs? Could it be lack of awareness of education of what is actually out there, that it actually is efficient, reliable, good, and clean? Do you find that many building owners or homeowners are having issues with their own location? No access to the sun, The panel won't support a different heating or cooling application. They're going to need transformer upgrades, things along those lines. Thank you for those that are voting. I'm going to leave it open for 3 more seconds. We're going to close, and we have a rather strong showing here of upfront cost being major reasoning as to why these projects are not implemented. The things that we are here with our program managers looking at how we can strategize with this incoming funding and support that upfront cost barrier. All right, I am going to go ahead with the second of 3 polls here. And launching. And again, thank you all for responding and engaging. Please select all the following City Light training opportunities that are of interest to you. Do you want to have trainings, educations, classes on efficient lighting, HVAC or refrigeration technology, design, electrification technology such as heat pump water heaters, electric vehicles, any energy code updates and trainings, trainings around sales or funding and financing opportunities that are available in our region from city, state, or other organizations that are providing funding? Or do you want additional engagement around City Light programs, rebate trainings, updates such as this one? I appreciate the more people have been voting on this one than the last one. I like that trend. I see still people are voting, so I'm leaving it on for 3 more seconds. Well, I like the shared interest. There's still a bit more, a stronger appetite for efficiency, technologies, best practices, and equipment trainings. Good to note, but good amount of interest in the other areas as well. All right, thank you for bearing with us. Last poll here. Again, as part of that effort that Julie is mentioning on better working with and engaging trade allies, what would be preferred benefits to you for joining a trade ally network with Seattle City Light? Would you be more interested in access to marketing or other online self-serve resources, how-to guides, being associated with the City Light brand, benefit as being part of a contractor list, may have referrals, exclusive training opportunities or programming with City Light? And if there are other benefits that would be attractive to you, please type them in the chat. Would love to call them out and open that discussion here. All right, I'm gonna leave it on for 3 more seconds. Thank you all for engaging. All right, so pretty good around the board on those benefits. They seem to be attractive. See a good amount of thank yous on the information and on the chat. But if there are any, hey, what would be attractive of being part of a trade ally network? We'd like to see it. So we'll have through the rest of the webinar, if you want to type in our chat, we will call it out and open that discussion. All right, Julie, that's pretty nice session of feedback, and all of that is saved, and we can mull on later days as we continue working on these programs. So back to you. See if you have any other thoughts here.
Yeah, I think you captured it well, Armando. Thank you for your feedback. We will be incorporating that as well as our other outreach efforts into our program design. The Lighting Design Lab, as you've seen, we have a lot of exciting trainings that are upcoming, and keep an eye out there also for any additional information on trainings, engagement opportunities, etc., as well as any newsletters that we produce. And that's what I have, Armando.
All right, everybody. looking to close here, Julian, and I appreciate this slide, having your email if anyone wants to reach out in the clean building programs. But if anyone has a question on any of the programs or does not know where to start or how to engage with City Light, who would they want to reach out to?
There are multiple ways to reach out to us. We have some emails, as we shared here. We also have the energy advisors, which are an important resource for you, both in finding information on our programs, as well as any questions that you have. We can share their contact information, both email and on the web. There is a phone number, and then we have some submission forms online for applications for any of the programs that we can share out.
Awesome. No, thank you very much, Julie. Before I close it out here, I see your note, David Summers. So I'm gonna reach out to you offline on additional luminaire level lighting control incentives and bonus. I appreciate the interest, and again, topic near and dear to my heart. But to all of us who joined us, appreciate the engagement, appreciate you voting on the polls and listening to our program updates as we have shown here. Be on the lookout for additional programming and keep engaging. There will be a 1 minute or 30-second survey at the end of this webinar. I ask that you please answer to let us know how we're doing and additional items that you may want to see. But from all of us at Seattle City Light, Lighting Design Lab, Customer Energy Solutions, bid you a good day, and you get a few minutes of your life back today. Lastly, yes, this webinar has been recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel in a few days. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.